voices and not having a way to express myself and explore my interests and passions in school. And it was entirely out of school that I was actually able to progress and come to things like this and speak about these educational issues. And we don't hear that student voice, and I think that is a shame when we count kids out who aren't necessarily elites or whatever. I went on way too long here to go.
So I think my journey in education really began when I started to notice, when I moved from one school to another, to one that was very competitive, pressure-packed, and one of the top called high schools in the country. And I noticed that kids were unhealthy, they were stressed out, that they were basically, I like to say, killing a part of themselves to succeed. And I felt that there had to be a better way of educating children. That didn't mean you had to sacrifice your health, your well-being, and your personal happiness. And so I think that schools in their current form are very anti-democratic. They don't, I mean, you have a certain population of people deciding on behalf of the other population how to learn, what to learn, where to learn, and I think there's little to no consent based on the learners themselves.
So I can remember hitting rock bottom as far as curiosity goes, and I was looking a 100-point bio test in the face. It was coming up the next day. My dad walked into the room, wrong place, wrong time, and said, "Hey, you want to know about the isotopes involved?" And I looked at him and I snarled, "It's not on the test, I don't care." Now, to understand how poignantly terrible that moment was for me, you have to understand that I was never that girl who raised her hand and asked, "Is it on the test?" I was never that girl who set aside Friday nights for a sexy date with my pile of flashcards. I was someone who cared about learning deeply, who read books for the fun of it, who looked up things on Wikipedia and would go down Wikipedia wormholes simply because I was curious. And I realized that curiosity, one of the traits that is most innate to us as human beings, is something that we often lose through school. So as I was looking at the college admissions process as a senior in high school, I got really nervous again. And I wished that for 4 years I'd had my very own rent-tiger parent, which I did not have. I had parents who let me go to conferences like South by, and who let me go and miss a ton of school to speak. I realized, though, that in this space of time, while I wasn't getting straight A's, I was learning more about the world and more about other incredible people than I ever could have imagined otherwise. I really hope more students have that same opportunity.
Yeah, my understanding of this almost came afterwards. As we're looking back, kind of K-12 educational system, I saw a lot of things just don't make common sense. For example, think about any business. They always listen to their customer, and if they don't, the markets make sure they listen to their customers. If you stop creating products and services that your customers want, they stop buying from you. It's very simple. But think about education. Who is the driving force behind how education is delivered? It's not the customers, it's not the recipients. It's a completely different group. So there isn't that circular feedback process that has made so many other cultures and so many other parts of society successful, whether it's peer-reviewed science or the corporate world like I just described. The other kind of common sense mismatch for me was time. Time changes everything. This conference, if it was held 75 years ago, would look very different. We won't have a mic, people wouldn't have computers, or iPads, or laptops, and so forth. But schools look roughly the same. And there's got to be an issue there. You know, we've moved from an agrarian society into one that's quite different. And does it really make sense now for, in the beginning of the year to the end of the year, no matter what level of mastery you have, for you to either wait longer than you need to or not take enough time on specific subjects and just move on. So there are very basic common sense things that need to be changed, and students are in the best position to say that because they're experiencing it firsthand. And that's what makes me passionate about this subject.
So I suppose my beginning into student voice and stuff was back in 6th grade when I did my very first science fair. I had this awful bowl cut giant glasses. But what it really showed me was that schools aren't the ones that really regulate your education. You're allowed to be able to do outside activities that supplement your education. And that's really how I kind of rebelled against my school, because they're really egalitarian and didn't let you do anything. But through science fair, I kind of found my freedom and my voice to do my own science, and that led to me finding a new way to detect pancreatic cancer. So I think that letting students run their own education is one of the most important things.
Hi, my name is Jordan Howard from Los Angeles, California. Where did my student voice start? So I'm 21 years old. I go to UCLA, majoring in political science. And my student voice started really when I was about 16, 15 years old. And I was given opportunities inside of school to find my voice or use my voice. My teachers kind of knew that at 15 years old in 9th grade, I was this like raging class clown / brat that gave her opinion whenever she wanted to. And they didn't see like negative in that. They said, we're gonna give that like loud girl something to talk about. And they did, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here now, why I've been like, student leader for the last 7 years. But I think it's really important to understand, I come from a community where we didn't have outside activities because we were in an underserved school that didn't have resources. So, students at the end of the school day, maybe you went home to an empty home because your mom was working multiple jobs. Maybe you didn't have an outlet, but when we were able to have activities inside the classroom and take project-based learning and kind of use our voice to do something for good and for social good and for our own good, for our community, then we were given another path. So maybe college was something that was not only something that was an option, well, maybe college was an option.
Yeah, so I think we see from all four corners of the country here. We already have answered our question, how student voice can change education. These students wouldn't be here today if they didn't have a voice. The problem is the fact that, these are your stereotypical student leaders. I count myself as one of them. And the thing is that we need to start bringing out the voices of more students. We need to start bringing out the voices of all students. That's something that we're all committed to. And as Jack said in the answer to why I am pro-voice, Jack said earlier, I've been in the education system for about 15, 16 years right now. To not call me an expert in education, any of these students an expert in education in their own right, it's just not true. We are experts. We've been through this for 16 years, and Malcolm Gladwell would agree. I think we've had over 10,000 hours in the school system at the very least. So we are experts. And now it's time to really scale this idea of student voice and bring it to all the students in classrooms across the country. And, as Mickey also found in his research, students, when they don't feel that their learning is relevant, they're not as happy later in life. And I would think one of my greatest values is to be happy later in life, to actually have my peers be happy later in life. And if our learning experience isn't relevant, that's not going to happen for many students. That's something we need to change. But anyway, I'd like to go around and just hear from a couple other folks around here. Maybe Frank, I'm going to pick on you, Frank Lamont from the Student Press Law Center. Starting out with, why are you pro-voice?
So yes, hey, I'm Frank Lamont. I'm the director of Student Press Law Center in Arlington, Virginia. We were started 40 years ago for one idea, to create a climate in schools where students can speak their minds without fear, where you can be a loud girl and a brat and feel safe and not feel that you're going to be punished or disciplined just for voicing an opinion and trying to have input into the education you're receiving. SPLC has a campaign called Cure Hazelwood. I've got bracelets for everybody here to try to reverse a devastating Supreme Court decision that robs students of their First Amendment rights during the school day. But we believe in student voice because we see working with journalists every day that you just trust in students and you govern your school from a place of trust and not from a place of fear. The students rise to that each and every time. We don't believe that, we know it. We know it.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you believe in the students, they're going to find a voice, and then they're going to act on that and make the most out of their education. I'd like to, also take other folks from the audience. Explain why you're pro-voice. Why do you believe in student voice? What brought you here today? Any volunteers?
Yeah. Dan Ryder, I'm an English teacher. I'm from Farmington, Maine. And I've seen firsthand what